In 1933, a woman feeding a family of 5 on $12 a month wasn't called poor. She was called normal. Today, that same woman would be called a financial genius. But here's the twist. Number 17 on this list was so effective that banks quietly stopped promoting it in the 1980s because it kept people out of debt. And number 3, financial advisors will never mention it because there's no commission in it. These 25 tricks were so good at keeping money in ordinary pockets that entire industries spent billions teaching us to forget them. Because here's the truth, nobody says out loud, if you handled money the way your grandmother did, you'd cancel half the subscriptions draining your account right now. Before we start, hit that subscribe button because what you're about to learn could put real money back in your pocket. Let's count down. Number 25, the soap sliver jar. Before body wash in a plastic bottle cost $8, your grandmother never threw away a bar of soap. When it wore down to a thin sliver too small to hold, she dropped it into a jar by the sink. When the jar filled, she pressed those slivers together into a fresh new bar or slipped them inside a mesh washcloth for the shower. Nothing was wasted, not one penny of lather. A bar of soap cost a nickel in 1955 and lasted a month. Today, the average family pours out roughly $40 a month in body wash, dish soap, and hand soap, half of it left clinging to the bottle we toss. Your grandmother squeezed every last suds out of a nickel. We pay premium prices to throw the leftovers away. Number 24, the clothes line. That rope strung across the backyard was the cheapest appliance a family ever owned. Your grandmother pinned wet laundry to it in the morning, and by afternoon, the sun and wind had done the work for free. Sheets came in smelling like fresh air, and colors lasted years longer because heat is what wears fabric out. A clothes dryer is one of the hungriest machines in your home, quietly eating $50 to $100 a year in electricity, and shredding your clothes into that gray lint you scrape out of the trap. That lint used to be your shirt. Your grandmother knew the sun was free, and the dryer was a luxury. Millions of families now run a dryer every single day and never once think to open a window. Number 23, the envelope system. Long before anyone had a budgeting app, your grandmother had a kitchen drawer full of labeled envelopes. Rent, groceries, coal, church. On payday, the cash got divided up and tucked into each one. When the grocery envelope was empty, groceries were done for the week. No overdraft, no credit, no mystery about where the money went, because she could hold it in her hands. That simple system did something no app has managed to fix. It made spending hurt a little, in the good way. Studies now show people spend up to 18% more when they pay with a card instead of cash, because tapping plastic doesn't feel like anything. Your grandmother felt every dollar leave that envelope. That's exactly why she kept more of them. Number 22, saving bacon grease. On the back of every stove sat a coffee can or a little tin, and into it went every drop of bacon fat, sausage drippings, and pan grease. Your grandmother strained it clean and kept it right there. No refrigerator needed. That golden fat fried the morning eggs, seasoned the cast iron, greased the biscuit pan, and gave green beans a smoky richness no butter could match. A pound of bacon stretched into a week of flavor. Today we scrape that same fat into the trash and then drive to the store to buy a bottle of cooking oil for $6. She got 2 products out of 1. We buy the bacon, throw away the best part, and pay again for a replacement. The grease can was free money sitting on the stovetop. Number 21, powdered milk. A box of powdered milk cost a fraction of fresh, never spoiled, and lived in the pantry for a year without taking up fridge space. Your grandmother mixed it with water for cooking, baking, and cereal, and stretched the real milk further by cutting it half and half with the powdered kind. The kids never knew the difference in a bowl of oatmeal. During rationing, this was survival, but smart families kept it going through the 60s because it simply cost less. A gallon of fresh milk now runs around $4 and sours in a week, so the average household pours a shocking amount straight down the drain. Powdered milk in the batter, and the gravy meant not one drop was ever wasted. Cheap, shelf-stable, and forgotten the moment marketing convinced us only fresh would do. Number 20, rags instead of paper towels. Your grandmother had a rag bag, and it was sacred. Worn-out shirts, holey socks, and thin bath towels didn't go in the trash. They got cut into squares and became cleaning cloths that washed and reused for years. Spills, windows, dusting, the car, all of it handled by fabric that was already paid for. The average American family now spends around $150 a year on paper towels, wiping up a mess once and throwing the money away in the same motion. A roll lasts days. A rag lasts a decade. Your grandmother's rag bag cost nothing to fill and never ran out at the worst possible moment. We buy convenience by the sheet, and we buy it again next week. Number 19, the kitchen haircut. A stool, a towel around the shoulders, and a pair of scissors on the back porch. That's how most children in America got their haircuts, and how most men kept theirs trimmed between the rare barber shop visit. Your grandmother learned to do a clean edge and a simple layer, and she passed it down. A basic haircut now runs $20 to $40, and for a family of 4 every month, that's a real bite out of the budget. Easily $500 a year. The clippers she'd buy once paid for themselves in a single month. It wasn't about looking cheap. It was about knowing that a skill in your own hands is worth more than a service you rent forever. Plenty of families never once questioned why they were paying someone else to do something so simple. Number 18, the mason jar for everything. When the canning was done, the jars did not get thrown out. They became drinking glasses, leftover containers, pantry storage for beans and rice, vases, button holders, and the bank where loose change slowly grew into something. Your grandmother's cabinets ran on glass jars she had already paid for once, and glass never stained, never held odors, and never cracked in the wash. Today we buy plastic containers by the set, lose the lids within a month, and toss the whole thing when it warps in the dishwasher. A mason jar outlives its owner. She saw a free container in every empty jar. We see trash, and then we drive to the store to buy the exact same thing in worse material. Number 17, layaway instead of credit. First pattern break. Here's where it gets interesting. Before credit cards trained us to buy first and pay later, your grandmother did the opposite. She picked out the winter coat or the Christmas toys at the store, paid a little each week, and only carried them home once every dollar was covered. No interest, no debt, just patience. But here's the part they don't advertise. As credit cards spread in the 1980s, stores quietly dropped layaway because the banks made far more money when you borrowed. A credit card charging 20% interest turns a $200 coat into a $240 coat if you carry the balance. Layaway charged you nothing but time. Your grandmother waited a few weeks and paid the honest price. We got handed plastic and paid the padded one, and we were told it was progress. Number 16, the Christmas Club. Every fall, your grandmother opened a little account at the bank, dropped in a few dollars a week all year, and when December came, she had a tidy sum set aside for gifts. Already saved, already spent in her mind. No January credit card hangover, no debt dragged into the new year. It was automatic, boring, and it worked. The average American now starts the new year owing over $1,000 in holiday debt, paying it off with interest well into spring. Your grandmother arrived at Christmas owing nobody a dime. She turned a painful lump sum into a painless trickle, and she did it with a passbook and a little discipline. We replaced that quiet habit with one big swipe and a whole lot of regret. Number 15, darning and mending. A hole in a sock was not the end of a sock. Your grandmother kept a darning egg and a needle, and in 10 minutes she wove that hole shut, and the sock lived another year. A missing button, a split seam, a torn knee. All of it was a small evening's work, not a trip to the store. A basket of clothes that would be trashed today stayed in rotation for years. We now toss a shirt over a single loose button, and the average person throws out around 70 pounds of textiles a year, while buying more to replace them. A spool of thread costs $1 and fixes 100 things. Your grandmother saw clothes as something you kept. We were taught to see them as something you discard, and the industry that taught us made a fortune. Number 14, homemade cleaning supplies. Under your grandmother's sink, there was no wall of specialized sprays. There was white vinegar, baking soda, and a bar of soap. And between them, they cleaned the entire house. Vinegar and water for windows and floors. Baking soda to scrub the tub and kill odors. Together they handled drains, ovens, and stubborn pots. A whole year of cleaning supplies cost a few dollars. Walk down the cleaning aisle now, and you'll find a separate $12 bottle for every surface in your home. Most of them the same ingredients dressed up with a scent and a label. Your grandmother knew 1 gallon of vinegar did the work of 10 bottles. The companies knew it too. They just figured out they could sell you 10. Number 13, the cast iron skillet. Your grandmother had one pan she cooked nearly everything in, and it was older than she was. A cast iron skillet, seasoned black and smooth, that would outlast her grandchildren. It never needed replacing, never scratched, never leached anything into the food, and the more she used it, the better it cooked. Today we buy non-stick pans that peel and warp within 2 or 3 years, then throw them out and buy another, again and again. A cast iron skillet cost a couple of dollars back then and can still be found for less than a nightly restaurant tip, and it is quite literally a lifetime purchase. Your grandmother bought 1 pan for a lifetime. We rent our cookware from the store on a 2-year lease and call it normal. Number 12, the backyard garden. A patch of dirt, a packet of seeds for a dime. And by summer, your grandmother was pulling tomatoes, beans, squash, and greens out of the ground for the cost of almost nothing. During the war, they called them victory gardens, and they fed a stunning share of the country. But smart families never stopped. A single tomato plant can produce 10 to 30 pounds of tomatoes over a season from a seed packet that costs less than 1 tomato at the store. Fresh herbs alone, which we now buy in little plastic clamshells for $3 a handful, grow like weeds on a windowsill. Your grandmother turned sunlight and dirt into groceries. We pay top dollar for produce trucked across the country, then let half of it rot in the crisper drawer. Number 11, canning and preserving. When the garden or the farm stand overflowed in late summer, your grandmother didn't let a bit of it spoil. She canned it. Tomatoes, green beans, peaches, pickles, and jam, all sealed in those mason jars and lined up in the cellar to feed the family straight through winter when store prices climbed. She bought or grew cheap in season and ate for pennies out of season. Today we do the reverse, paying premium prices for a sad tomato in January that traveled 2,000 miles to get soft. A summer afternoon of canning filled a shelf that lasted till spring. Yes, it took work, but it was the difference between paying the store's winter price and paying almost nothing. Your grandmother banked the harvest. We just keep paying retail all year round. Number 10, the whole chicken. Your grandmother bought 1 whole chicken and got a week out of it, roasted the first night, the meat picked clean for sandwiches and casseroles the next few days. And then the real magic, the carcass, the bones, the bits most people throw away, went into a pot of water with an onion and whatever vegetable ends she'd saved, and simmered into a rich broth that became soup. One bird, many meals. Today we buy boneless, skinless breasts at a premium, use them once, and toss the very parts that made the cheapest, most nourishing soup on earth. A box of store broth costs $3 or $4 for something that used to be made from garbage. Your grandmother got soup, sandwiches, and dinner out of a single purchase. We pay more for less and throw the best part in the trash. Number 9. Beans as the main event. Second pattern break. Here's a habit the food companies were happy to see us forget. Your grandmother knew that a bag of dried beans was the cheapest, most filling protein money could buy, and she built entire dinners around it. Beans and rice, bean soup, chili that stretched a half-pound of beef across a whole pot. Meat was the seasoning, not the centerpiece. A pound of dried beans costs about $1.50 and feeds a family while providing protein and fiber that keep you full for hours. As Americans got richer, marketing taught us that a real meal meant a big slab of meat on every plate, and our grocery bills tripled. Your grandmother knew a pot of beans was dinner, not a side dish. We were sold the idea that thrift was shameful, and we've been paying for that lesson at the checkout ever since. Number 8. One big pot. Your grandmother didn't cook a different meal every night from scratch. On Sunday, she made a big pot of something, a stew, a soup, a casserole, a pot of sauce, and it fed the family for days, getting better each time it was reheated. She cooked once and ate 5 times. Today, we've been sold the idea that every dinner should be fresh, separate, and often delivered, and the average household now spends a jaw-dropping amount on takeout and food that gets thrown away untouched. Batch. Cooking uses less fuel, less time, and far less money, and it means you're never too tired to face the question of what's for dinner. Your grandmother answered that question once a week. We answer it every night, usually with a delivery app and a delivery fee. Number 7. The markdown shelf. Every store has one, and your grandmother knew exactly where it was. The day-old bread rack, the dented cans, the meat marked down because it needed to be cooked or frozen that day. She timed her shopping to hit the markdowns, bought that perfectly good food at a fraction of the price, and cooked or froze it right away. That bread made French toast. That marked-down meat went straight into the freezer for next week's stew. Stores discount this food specifically because they'd rather sell it cheap than throw it out, which means the savings are just sitting there waiting for anyone paying attention. Your grandmother saved 30 or 40% on things she was going to buy anyway. We walk right past the markdown shelf and pay full price out of habit because nobody ever taught us to look. Number 6. Bread from scratch. Flour, water, yeast, and salt. For about 50 cents, your grandmother made 2 loaves of bread that filled the whole house with a smell no bakery can bottle. A bag of flour cost almost nothing and made loaf after loaf. Store bread now runs $3 to $5 a loaf, and the average family goes through it fast. So that's real money leaving the house every week for something made of pennies worth of ingredients. Yes, it takes a little time, but most of that time the dough is just sitting there rising while you do something else. Your grandmother turned 50 cents into a week of bread and a warm kitchen. We pay the bakery's markup for the exact same 4 ingredients, plus a list of preservatives she never would have recognized as food. Number 5. The rebate and coupon discipline. Third pattern break. Before there were apps, there was a shoebox, and in it your grandmother kept her coupons, her rebate forms, and her S&H green stamps. She matched coupons to sales, mailed in rebates for cash back, and pasted stamps into books she redeemed for toasters and towels. It was a system, and she worked it every single week. Here's the thing the stores hoped you'd forget. Coupons and rebates exist because companies are betting most people are too lazy to use them, and the majority never do. Your grandmother took the discount they were practically begging her to take. A disciplined shopper can still cut a grocery bill by a quarter or more just by matching sales to coupons. She treated it like a part-time job that paid in cash. We leave that money on the table every week because clipping feels like a chore, exactly as they planned. Number 4. The one-car family. For most of the 20th century, a household had one car, and it worked out fine. Your grandmother walked to the corner store, sent the kids to school on foot or by bus, and planned the week's errands into a single trip. One car meant one insurance payment, one tank of gas, one set of repairs. Today, the average household runs 2 or more vehicles, and the true cost of owning and operating a single car, once you add insurance, gas, maintenance, and depreciation, runs into the thousands every year. Dropping even one car from a household can free up more money than almost anything else on this list. Your grandmother's family shared, walked, and planned ahead. We each bought our own set of wheels and our own set of bills and called it independence. Number 3, fixing it instead of replacing it. Here's the one the advisors will never mention because there's no commission in a repair. When something broke in your grandmother's house, the first question was never where to buy a new one. It was whether it could be fixed. A toaster, a lamp, a chair, a leaky faucet, a squeaky door. All of it got opened up, tinkered with, and brought back to life, often for the cost of a single part. There were repair shops on every main street and a husband or a neighbor who knew his way around a screwdriver. Today, things are practically designed to be thrown away, and we've been trained to replace at the first sign of trouble, tossing hundreds of dollars of fixable appliances into the landfill every year. Your grandmother saw a broken thing as a puzzle. We see it as a shopping trip. A 10-minute repair and a $2 part will save you a $200 purchase more often than you'd ever guess. Number 2, buying it used, buying it once. Your grandmother furnished half her home from estate sales, church rummage tables and hand-me-downs, and she bought the good stuff, the solid wood furniture and the heavy tools built to last a lifetime. She knew that a used dresser made in 1950 would outlast 3 flimsy new ones, and she paid a fraction of the price. Today we buy new, buy cheap, and buy often, filling our homes with furniture that wobbles apart in a few years and has to be replaced. The second-hand world is overflowing with quality items being given away for pennies on the dollar, simply because they're not new. Your grandmother knew that new was a tax you paid for no reason. She bought quality once and kept it for decades. We buy disposable and pay again and again, and somehow convinced ourselves that's the better deal. Number 1, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. This was the rule that tied every other trick together, a saying your grandmother lived by without ever needing to explain it. Before any purchase, before any trip to the store, that sentence ran through her mind. Could the old one be repaired? Could it be stretched a little further? Was it needed at all, or just wanted? That one habit, questioning every dollar before it left her hands, is the real secret behind all 25 tricks. It's not about being cheap. It's about refusing to spend on autopilot. We live in a world engineered to make spending frictionless. One tap, one swipe, one click, and delivered by morning. Your grandmother put a moment of thought between herself and every purchase, and that single pause was worth more than any coupon. She didn't have more money than we do. She simply refused to waste the money she had. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Here is my challenge. Pick just one this week. Save the bacon grease. Try the envelope system. Fix the thing you were about to replace. Then come back and tell me in the comments which one you tried and whether your grandmother knew something the rest of us forgot. Because these were not just money tricks. They were freedom, hiding in plain sight, until someone spent billions teaching us to forget them. Your grandmother knew, Now you do too.